Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our sixth public webinar. So we've got quite a bit to go through today. So without further ado, I will crack on with the agenda. So what we'll cover tonight, or today, is August updates. So we'll give you highlights and a sort of overview of everything that's been released more recently, excluding the last week or two, just because it doesn't count as August, but we'll cover those in next month's webinar. So we've also got priority feature progress and updates. So we'll just show the same list that I'm sure many of you are familiar with and have seen before, and go through that. And then we'll take a look at some import tools. So there's quite a few now. We'll run through the various import tools available to you to save you time when importing sites. And we're also going to take a look at the 3 migration methods. We've run through that possibly on our first webinar, but it's been a while. And also we have new tools available now. So we'll go through that. Then we look at the all new agency starter pack, and we'll show you that in Portal and where you can get started with it and answer any questions. Then we've got a sneak peek of Siteglide Studio. So some of the advisory board have seen this, but we'll give you a sneak peek of the new marketing site and a few other bits shortly. And then we'll do the full release next month on the webinar. And then finally, we have a Q&A session. So some of you have submitted questions in the registration form to this webinar. And so we will go through those. Right, so August releases. So first off, big one, secure zones. So securing web app items, you can now obviously secure web app items and add them to any existing secure zones. So this is obviously good for things like courses portals, perhaps commenting systems or review systems, things like that. And on top of that, you also now have a 404/login toggle. So you define, and it's a toggle in the UI, whether or not when someone lands on a page, it says it doesn't exist, or it asks them to log in. So it's an extra security feature there. Then we have updates to our events module layout. So it's been sort of improved and streamlined, so everything loads a bit quicker if you're using the design system layouts for it. And it's a bit more simple for the user too. Slider module and new layouts. So we released the slider module, and we've also released new layouts, but it was quite in quite quick succession, so we've put them in the same one. So from your list of modules on any site now, you can install that and get started. It's good for, you know, ad rotators or anything that you'd like, obviously. Then we have agency starter pack. So that was released a couple of weeks ago to the UI. So that you can purchase them through there the same as you would any other site. So we'll take a look at that in a bit too. I think there's one more, Siteglide events page. So as you'll all know, because you've registered to join the event, we have a brand new event section on the website. So we'll take a brief look at that, and I'll sort of explain why we've done it and what we've got planned there as well. Okie dokie. So, oh, I've put them in a weird order. No, that's all right. So first of all, as well, just in terms of things that we've released and improved. So agency success, I thought I'd share some of the stats on that for you guys. So I think this is a snapshot of the last month or two to 3 months. And you can see that we have almost 100% satisfaction rating on the support queries that come in. And if actually I went back and I did it over a year, and it averages out to be almost 100%. So good work, team. And of course, that's reflected in the reviews that many of you have given us. So I won't read through them, but we've just got some snapshots and examples here, commenting on our excellent support and how valuable it is to you guys, which is fantastic to see. And it's something we're passionate about maintaining. So that brings me on to my next point, which is we have some, literally today, we've started beginning to roll out some of the new success flows. So if you want to get in touch now, you'll see there's a little screenshot here, but you can't just initiate a chat on anything anymore. That's because, you know, we've grown as a team, we've got more, we've now split teams, we've got different people doing different things, and we want to keep the level of the quality of service, basically, that you're telling us you value so much, but also make it scalable, and so that we can keep that high level as we expand. So we've added in more options to help signpost where we should be going, and it also will automatically assign to different teams now. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're working on in the background here in terms of improving processes. Oh, I should probably click through. There we go. Internal processes for automation, automatic assigning to the correct people, particularly on technical tickets, which means we can resolve things more quickly. And some of you may have seen this already, but a few weeks ago, we put up a new support SLA in our documentation as well. I'll take a look at that shortly. Just to outline what we can and can't help with, again, so that as we expand, we can continue offering a high level of service. Alrighty. So, also updates on our Zapier. So we've talked about this a few times in different webinars. So I'll take a look at this. I'll actually jump out and have a look at the app so that you can all see it, for those of you who haven't. But using our public API, you can access the endpoints in Zapier, and you can point and click and create any flows you'd like to connect to external services. So the update is that we have the remaining templated Zaps. So when you load our app, I'll show you in a minute, we have the templates for the Zaps pending, which means we'll be able to move out of beta into a fully published app on the Zapier site. So I will quickly just take a look at that now. So we have our app over here. And you can see, so typically you get some preset ones. We have 3 at the moment, and there are obviously the other 7 that will be approved. I think it takes about a week or so. So I suspect by next webinar, we will be fully listed and not marked as beta, which is excellent news. I know many partners are already using this with their clients, and it's saving them a lot of time in various different use cases, which is excellent to see. While I'm here, I might just bring up the support SLA, seeing as I talked about it. So if you guys would like to take a look at it, you can go to the new revamped getting started area and scroll down a little bit, and you can see we have a support policy in here. So it just covers where you can get support, how we offer it, who we offer it to, etc. We will be updating this in the next week or so to cover more of the processes we're putting in place as well. We'll link to this after the webinar. Okay, so onwards, what's next? Oh yes, top 10 feature priority rundown. So let's go for it, shall we? I'm sure many of you are familiar with this from previous webinars. So e-commerce phase 2, pretty much there. We've done the subscriptions release now as well, which is what we were waiting on the last time we had a webinar. So that's done. Secure zones phase 2, so adding content to web apps and the toggles done. CRM user segments, that is on its way. So not long to wait on that one now. BC blog module import, done. We'll take a look. Well, I won't show that later, but it will be discussed. Public API and Zapier phase 2. So technically it's done, but it's in beta. So we'll get that released fully in the next week. Just because it's in beta in Zapier, by the way, doesn't mean that you can't use it. We have numerous partners using it with real live clients and use cases. It's not unstable. It's just that we haven't finished filling out the profile. E-commerce subscriptions phase 2. We've also seen releases for that recently. So that's good. User roles is still to come. Billing phase 2. I'll show you some more of that a bit later, and we've had releases there. Site copy to staging to production, that has been released. So I wasn't going to, but I might just take a look at that in a bit as well and show you guys some of that. And site uses and upgrades, and of course that is also released as well. Okay, so onwards, let me just scroll down slightly. There we go. So migration from BC. So as promised, we'll go through some of the various tools that are now available, and we're also going to take a look at some of the migration approaches because they've changed now that the new tools are available. Right, next. Oh yes, first I'm going to look at some of the benefits. So just in case, because I know we have some newer partners on board as well, who may not have heard us talk about some of this before. So if you have, bear with us. But we'll take a look at some of the benefits of migrating to Siteglide and of course Platform OS. So the first one is the options available to you. Now we will run through these, but it means that you don't just get an as-is migration if you choose not to. Second is, of course, the platform and the core architecture and the power of that infrastructure, the scalability, reliability, etc. I think the next slide will go into that a bit more. And improvements. So even if you do a like for like, as we'll take a look at shortly, you will see improvements. So you could use our static site importer and you will see improvements to page speed and SEO and things like that. So, oh, what's going to come up first? There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, performance and reliability are big ones. So the underlying architecture and infrastructure that our technology partner Platform OS are maintaining and performing the DevOps on mean that you don't have to worry about security, etc. and uptime. And then we have, of course, those top speed SEO scores. We'll take a look on static site importer. And the flexibility of functionality. So the fact that we are not pigeonholing ourselves. So technology partners such as Platform OS. And of course, there are no hidden costs. So we'll take a look at that a bit later with the starter pack when we start looking at that. But we're on an entirely usage-based system, which means you don't have to have hidden add-ons. And when you go to make an improvement or fulfill a client request, you're not going to be pigeonholed there or have to explain that there's some extra charge somewhere later down the line. Okay, so static site importer. Now, I'm not going to run through a whole import tonight. I can link to a webinar afterwards if you guys would like to see me doing one of those on a webinar. So, static site import tool. I might just dive out to the page in a moment, but you can, within minutes, import all of the front-end code, assets, including images, JavaScript files, PDFs, whatever you like. It will scrape all of that and put it into pages on a Siteglide site and import all of the assets for you into File Manager. So this is going to massively help improve and streamline your migration approaches. It's perfect for really small sites that don't necessarily use data, but it can also be used to streamline those larger sites as well. We'll take a look at that. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, when the import is run, it will optimize the images for you, which means, it will optimize images for you. It will put them on a global CDN using edge case servers, which means that you should see pretty much on all sites, depending on how well optimized it was before, a big improvement on page load and also SEO results there, of course, as well. And of course, once you have imported it, there's nothing to stop you starting to integrate with some of the other features and benefits of the platform later on as the client's budget comes out. So for those who haven't seen it, let's do static site importer. So we have a landing page here. You can go and read all about it on the website. And there's also a little video for you, and it runs through exactly what the imports look like. And it explains all of the benefits here. So if you want to kind of get stuck in and find out a bit more about it after the webinar, you can do. Now, you can either run these yourself using CLI, or you could contact one of our development partners who will be happy to do that for you. Okie dokie. So this is just one of the tools. So we're going to move on to more tools now. So BC Web App Import. Now, for those of you who've been with us a little while, you will be familiar with this already, but you can, when I click, import all web apps in one zip folder containing as many items as you'd like, and it will maintain any category relationships you already have set up on your BC website, along with any data source relationships as well. So that saves hours and hours and hours of having to rebuild the database structure. So we also have a similar one for the Adobe BC blog module. Now, this is a little bit different to web apps. It's more complex because you, as I'm sure if you've used the blog module, you can have more than one blog. And we also have tags and not just categories. So you can now import a zip folder, and there is documentation on this as well, to a site with all of the blogs, and they're not just imported flat or in some weird way. They're imported as you would expect with all the categories and tags. Tags will be converted to categories, but they act in the same way. Next tool is Additional, oh yeah, so I'm going to run through some additional ones. So these are slightly smaller, but still very useful. So web app and module CSV. So if you don't want to do BC exporter, which we're going to have a look at shortly, you could just do CSV import and export as well. So you can do that to any of your custom web apps and any of the modules too. And then next is the full assets folder. So you can use CLI or static site import to import all of your assets at once, or you can drag and drop into the file manager on your site. There are some browser limitations there for now. I think it's about 100 files that you can upload at a time in file manager. And finally, when you're getting ready to go live, you can do a CSV import of any existing URL redirects, but also any new ones that you might have to set up because of changes you've made when you've done an import. I might just show that one, or show a couple of them. So let's dive in. Bear with me. Okay, so okie dokie. So let's do web apps first. So it has moved in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So there was an update. Rather than coming in and doing it on Create Web Apps, we've now got the migration tools down here. So this is where you would do your web import and blog module as well. Then what was the next one? Let's have a quick look. Full assets folder. So again, using CLI or static import, but of course we have file manager too. And second is URL redirects. So again, that's in CMS here, and you can do an import. And if you do this, you can download an import template. It's just 2 columns, really, really simple. Okie dokie. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So then we look at sort of advice, tools and tips. So beyond just the import tools, what's available to you. So first of all is CLI. So again, you can check the documentation, but this enables you to effectively connect to a site much like you would with FTP. So for those who don't know, we don't have FTP on AWS because it was their decision for security reasons, but we do have the CLI. So, and in conjunction with that, it allows us to do much more. So for now, for example, we do backup and versioning, but there's a huge amount we could do with that in the future as well. Second is BC exporter. I am going to go and take a look at that. Let's do it now. Have I got it up? No, I haven't. Nightmare. There we go. So BC exporter, again, we will link to this after the webinar. There we go. Is a tool that allows you to get a full export of your site from Adobe BC. So this is ideal if you have sites with web apps or module data. So anything with data that you want to get out is particularly useful as Adobe don't allow you to export certain types of data or certain modules, for example, from their UI. So this will give you all of that. So I will come back to this a little bit later on. Let's stick it over here for now. And then the final one is Toolbox. So I'll quickly show that as well. So while you're in Pages, if you're new to the platform and you're not quite sure how what the liquid might look like or what the code looks like, maybe you've not used liquid at all before, you don't need to try and work it out or remember it. You have Toolbox along the right-hand side here, and the more you add to the site, the more will be available to you in Toolbox. So if we do web apps and I just want a list, I can of course just point and click and select like this, and then hit insert, and it will generate the liquid for me, and I don't have to try and look up across 5 different documentation sites to work that out. Okay. Okay, so methods available. So I'm going to start going through what an import looks like and different styles of migrating using the tools that we've been outlining. I haven't obviously shown all of the tools in action, but we have documentation and videos and things like that. And we've also shown them in previous webinars. So the first is, of course, like for like. So we'll send out the recording, and we'll also be adding these to documentation tomorrow so that you can see and look at these in more detail if you prefer. But the first step here would be to export your site using BC exporter. because it takes a little bit of time for it to aggregate that data and give it to you. The second would be to create a site. And then the third would be to run the static site import that we were looking at before. So that is over here. So you can run the static site import. And if your site doesn't have data, then you don't need to run the BC exporter. But if it does, it means you can run that import for the front end code and then run the import for the data, and then you can start linking them up, which means you don't have to spend time copying and pasting and rebuilding structures. So if you've done that, you can then clean up the static pages and you can move those flat pages into page templates and other layouts, such as for web apps or any modules. Then finally, you'll need to do build your menus and forms. And again, copy in the layouts that you've moved over. And then, of course, as we discussed earlier, you can do CSV import for your URL redirects and put the site live. Next is design system, or if you prefer, buying a template online. So I will show you the current design system, and then of course we've got a sneak peek later on. So it's going to follow a similar process. If you have a site that uses database objects, use BC exporter. If you don't, ignore it. And then we have designing the layouts in Figma. So I will show you this in a moment. Customizing that design, you can even put content in, and you could basically have the client sign off on the entire website. Then match those with the layout library and start building out your pages, copying and pasting in those structures. You can bulk upload any assets that are predefined, connect all your layouts up, make sure your page content's correct, build your menus and forms, URL redirects, and put it live. And the third process is bespoke. So I might just, well, I'll run through this now and then I'll show you. So bespoke would be not using predefined layouts such as design system or purchasing a template online and using that. The third is building it yourself. So you might have a development team who want to make all of their layouts themselves. Again, BC exporter if you have data, creating a site, and then build out your pages, of course, bulk upload your assets, connect your layouts and other elements such as forms and menus, etc. URL redirects and put your site live. So in our documentation, we're going to have links. So the idea is you can pick one of these and just follow the steps through. And we are in the process of revamping those. So I'll take a look at that in a minute. So the existing layout library is over here, and I didn't load up Figma. Luke, could you maybe link me to the Figma project so that I don't have to look through 50 projects to find it? Thank you. So for those who haven't seen it, we have layout library over here, which is based on Bootstrap 4. And the idea is that it gives you a lot of predefined and pre-built layouts ready-made. These match with the Figma setup. You might want to DM it to me in Zoom, Luke, if that's okay. There we go. So you can see in here, we've got all sorts for forms, web app layouts, etc. Oh, I've clicked on one form. Let's just show all and scroll down. So we have hundreds of layouts in here, and this is the current design system approach. So if you wanted to, rather than doing a like-for-like migration or a fully bespoke one, you can try and streamline your efforts. You can import the existing data, but just refresh the site and make it up to speed in terms of responsive layouts, page speeds, etc. So you can see you get a whole array of things in terms of forms, just general content layouts, etc. So that's how you would go. I might circle back around to Figma if we don't have it. That's right. Okay. Right. I will circle back around to it actually, because we're going to go through the new version later. Just coming. Okay. All right. I'll wait 1 second then. Let's see if I can load it up. I don't know. Figma tends to be, oh, no, that's Siteglide admin, design assets. Yeah, you might want to. Okay, thanks. Bear with me. Sorry, everybody. Right, here we go. So, thank you. Copy that. Okay, here we go. So Figma is a design tool, and you'll find that when we dive into this, hopefully it'll let me. Interesting. Okay, you've got to hold that. So if we go into, let's go to starter site. So this is kind of a predefined template just so that you can explore. But basically, all of the design layouts in Figma are set up to match those that are in layout library. So you'll see that there are similar kind of content sections. I think this one was one we saw earlier, for example, and this is the top banner. So you can see that in here we have a huge library of hundreds of different layouts. Let's scroll in. And the idea is that if you decide to, you can implement a design and strategy phase and get the content together and pre-fill it with images, for example, with starter site, and get that signed off by the client before you even start building, which means you don't have to code something and then change it later and then have to recode it and then do that 5 times for them to sign off on it. You can skip all of that and do it in the design and strategy phase. Using the design system linked to a layout library, it means that if you make small changes, you still have the underlying structure. And each of these, if I zoom in, they should be ID'd. Yeah, that's fine, thanks, Luke. So each of these are ID'd. Now I'm not logged in, but they correspond with the layouts in layout library, which we can then copy and paste into our site. So I will circle back around. Whoa, Figma's breaking my computer. There we go. Okay, so there's the 3 approaches there. So that's a weird order, but I'm going to go through what the team are focusing on next before looking at the 10-pack, the agency starter packs with the discounts, and also the sneak peek and what's planned with the UI UX for the layout library with the drag and drop builder, etc. So coming up next is UI UX improvements. We've started to see these come into place with the layout library, etc. So we'll take a look at that shortly. File manager enhancements, this is in progress. CRM companies, so being able to group users within the CRM of a site. Again, this is on its way. Web app geolocation fields, one of our most popular voted on the roadmap, is also on its way. I believe it's due for this month. So exciting one for all that have voted on that one as well. And e-commerce database improvements. So I'll quickly dive out and take a look at e-commerce for those who haven't seen it. If I have a site with it on, well, let's just install it, shall we? So if you have a fresh site and you'd like to install a new module, you can head over to site settings. And from here, you can see the modules tab, and we can scroll down a bit in here. I'm looking for e-commerce, which I scrolled past, and I can click install. And of course, because we're on usage-based site plans, you get access to all modules. So any of the Siteglide modules come for free, and you're simply going to charge your client based on the usage. So depending on the size of the module, this will take anything from sort of 30 seconds to a minute or 2. Usually they're pretty quick. There we go, so that's installed. And while we're here, because this is also new actually, but we haven't broadcasted it a huge amount, we've added changelog buttons next to these, so that if there is an update, which I don't have any of, you can just click the changelog first and see what has recently been released before installing the update, particularly useful for live sites, that one. Okay, so let's go back into admin and we can now see e-commerce is listed in here. So we have, of course, all of our products. So if I create a new one, and we have pricing attributes, we've got inventory control, and you can also add custom field sets to these too. And you can add any of the field types that you'd like with different options, etc. Now, at the moment, the way that the system is set up is things like custom field sets and so on are added on. So rather than it being one product that's linked with a custom field set, it becomes 2 items, which is not a huge problem, but for some larger sites that creates some significant impact to usage. So what the team is going to be working on, or is working on, is flattening that so that we don't have that problem. So even if you have things like custom field sets on there, one product is one product. So that's also a really exciting one. So let's skip through these. Okay, so one we've been waiting for, agency starter packs. So I'll take a look at the page in a moment and explain a little bit more detail. But agency starter packs do they do several things, but one of those is offer an additional 50% discount on top of the existing discount to partners on site plans. Ooh, whoops, that's a typo. So it is for the next 5 years. So if you lock in this discount, it will continue for the next 5 years, as long as the billing isn't interrupted. Also in the agency starter pack, you get premium onboarding. So you'll be offered onboarding calls. So I think it's 4 1-hour calls. And they'll be tailored to you to make sure that you can use and build the features and sites that you need to deliver to your clients and get up and running. And as I said, if you purchase one now, you lock it in for the next 5 years, and that is on top of the permanent discount you will get for sites. So let's head over to our portal. So I know some of the early adopters for this, so some of the earlier partners who purchased these didn't do it through the UI. So we do now have a nice area in the UI where you can come and click and buy them. So you can see more information here. So this goes through what I've explained partly, but it gives you a bit more information too. So it's a 50% discount, and you buy a pack of 10 sites, and that's billed annually. But as I say, that gets locked in at that discount rate for the next 5 years. You can also read a whole bunch more information on this doc over here, which is locked. So you sometimes have to refresh. I might just refresh. Let's do this one. So, of course, as you all know, we don't display pricing publicly because we don't want your clients to go and find it and then start questioning your prices and the services that you add on top. There we go. So now it's unlocked it. So you can, of course, head over here and find out all of the information too. Now, in addition to the 50% discount, you also get access to those onboarding calls. So we value those at £1,000. So it's 4 onboarding calls, which you can schedule with us at any time. And priority assistance, so priority support. There's more information coming on that later. So one final thing to mention on 10 packs is that the 60% off offer that has been running since we've started, I think, is going to be coming to an end for new sites that you put live, not existing sites. They're locked in for life. For new sites that you put live on the 26th of September. So if you want maximum discount potential, it's going to be a good idea to purchase this before the 26th, because you'll get 50% on top of that 60% discount available to partners. Right, we'll circle back around to questions shortly. Okay. Right, so obviously we've done a slightly different structure this time. So we've had registration, which has allowed us to put in a Q&A section. So we've had some partners ask questions beforehand. So I'm just going to go through and give some answers to those, and then we'll pick up any that Luke hasn't answered in the chat and open it up to everybody else. So the first is, can we build custom modules for Siteglide, from Casey? And yes, is the answer, you can. The dev team are busy putting together documentation and information as to how you'd go about doing that, so that you have something to follow in terms of standards and fitting it into how the system works. So rather than you kind of trying to do it yourself and kind of battling with it, we're going to give you a whole bunch of information on that. I think the team have already started working on putting it together. So we should get that across to you within, I'd say that, hopefully this month. I know you're not alone in that one. Second one is from Bob. How does Platform OS's introduction of their recent e-commerce template affect Siteglide, or does it? That's a great question. So for those who haven't seen Platform OS's update, in their module marketplace, they have a new e-commerce install template. So the short answer is no, it doesn't. But I'll start explaining a few bits. So that's primarily because we haven't tried to integrate with it. And so we're not quite sure how it will play with the way we've built things using their platform. Because of timelines, they've literally just released theirs. So they'll be using all of the latest and greatest. So some things to note though, if for those of you who are aware of what their module includes, The Siteglide e-commerce version does have, of course, all of the things like, so one of the things we talked about was the big SEO improvements and how that they can get maximum potential out of those. So you get all of those on the Siteglide sites, along with metadata, etc. And we'll look at some of the others. So we watched the webinar, of course, and there are some features that they've added that are new and we'd like to integrate into the Siteglide e-commerce. So those will come in time. We'll probably talk a bit more about those later, so in a later date. What else? So yeah, basically we haven't dived into it. You could, if you would like to install it, so do it on a test site and see how you get on. It's something that we'll take a look at soon. Okay, Stephen asks how to migrate sites easily. Hopefully we've covered that in this webinar. But if you have any additional questions, of course, you just get in touch with our success team and we can go through those. And finally, do we have wholesale pricing? Now, I think I've seen some questions about wholesale pricing going on tonight. So I have a few things to show on that. So the short answer is no, not yet. It is on the roadmap over here. So that's specifically for people. So if you have a whole bunch of users logging into a site and some of them are wholesalers and some of them aren't, then you'll want to be able to segment those. And that's the bit that we haven't done yet. You'll need a price to switch between the two. It is technically possible if you don't have that technicality by saying if anybody logs in, they are a wholesaler, and then you could just change the price displayed based on whether or not they're logged in or other information about their user profile. Good stuff. All right, so questions. My chat's disappeared. I know, Luke, you've been answering some. Do you want to maybe catch me up? Let's scroll to the top.
Yeah, a couple of things to mention probably would be about, I don't think you mentioned the CRM Import Tool.
Oh, hold on, I've skipped over something, I feel like. That's all right, we'll circle back to it. I've skipped over the sneak preview, haven't I?
There is quite an important one, yeah.
Yeah. Right, yes, sorry, go on. So questions on...
So I don't think you mentioned the CRM Import Tool when you were showing the different import options.
Did I not? That's interesting.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe
that was one of the questions anyway.
On that. That might be why. Let's have a quick look. I will open a new tab here, and we'll circle back to some of this because I know you guys have got questions on that. Just going to pause my screen. And say, oh, okay, that's fine.
The question from Barbara was about importing customer records and store purchases. So I'll let you show the CRM Import Tool. In terms of e-commerce orders, that's not something you can import currently, but I believe Matt's adding that to the roadmap. So currently it'd be adding CRM users.
Yeah. Yes, so you can do CSV import of those. So one thing to note on this is, as I'm sure everybody is aware, on BC you got a whole bunch of fields whether you liked it or not. So you don't have that on Siteglide. You just have the minimum, a minimum number of fields. I think we've been asked to. Oh, I don't have an example. We've been asked to add a few more, but basically you get name. Oh, it's here. Name, email, and some IDs. So what that does mean is the fields that you need to import from your BC site, you can add as custom fields. So you can build a custom field set, and this behaves just like web apps and modules because it's built using the same architecture. So if I just do test one, and you can see in here, I can create any field with any name and use any of the field types that are available elsewhere. So this gives you maximum flexibility on import. Once you've done that, I might just make one, test one string. Yeah, sure, let's make it required. So there we go. So now that I've made that, what I can do is come into users, import, and select the custom fields that I've made, which will attach that to the CSV. So now I can download either a populated one for manipulating existing data or an empty one. And then what you can do is export your CRM from BC and match those up and then import them. So that's how you go about doing that. Okay, next, any other questions?
I've got a point that's not a question that people might not be aware of, because at the moment, well, until quite recently, things like notes and appointments and tasks couldn't be imported. And I spoke with Adam Broadway, and he told me what needed to be done, and then we lobbied Business Catalyst, and they've implemented a way of doing that. So I'm just going to pop in a link in there for people that might want to do that, because it's getting that other data out since we're into the CRM, or I don't know how it would be imported, but it's now possible anyway.
Awesome. That's good to know. Nice one. Yeah, fantastic. We might, I'll make a note for that, and we'll try and document, make sure we can make life easy on that area too. In terms of important to Siteglide. Excellent. Cheers, Ash.
No worries.
Yeah, very interesting. Thanks.
Right. CRM order. Oh, I see. That's your answer. Yes. Sorry. Actually, it's a fair point. The other way to manage imports or continued management of CRM users would be to use the Zapier app. So one of the triggers in here, so Luke's just explained this in the chat, but I'll show it for others that can't see the chat on the recording, is a new form case. So you can do this back and forward. So this gets data out. So anybody that submits submits a new case to a form, or rather a new CRM is added to your database, and then you can send this elsewhere to, I don't know, MailChimp for email marketing, for example, or ActiveCampaign. And the other is you can do it backwards. So you could have another external system add a user to your CRM in Siteglide as well. And of course, you'll be able to customize any of the data that comes through there. Yeah, so Luke's also mentioned Google Sheets. I think this might be one of our predefined apps, which is sending a case or CRM user to a spreadsheet, which you could then have manipulated or linked with another app. So it can become a sort of automatic central database. And then when you add a new row or column into that, it would then get pushed back into your Siteglide database. Good stuff. When will we be able to update products from an external source as well? Yes, so Luke's answered that too. So yeah, e-commerce API stuff is improving. So for those who don't know, that's one of the last things that the team are working on. For those who don't know, where is it? I had it open. There we go, API. So you can come to api.siteglide.co.uk, and you will be able to see all of the endpoints currently available. And if there are any missing that you need to deliver to your clients, you can submit a feature request on the roadmap. We've probably already got a couple on there, and the team are pretty quick for adding new ones in. So if there's something you need, let us know. And then, yeah, Barbara's asked about wholesale pricing, which I explained just a short while ago, but obviously that was earlier. Can we get a breakdown of what's coming in e-commerce phase 2? Yes, most of it's already been. So yeah, one of the last things that they're doing is improvements to import and export for different use cases and different, so products built up with different elements. So that's one of those, and then the endpoints to match that as well. Oh, Luke's already explained it. Good stuff. But now everybody else knows as well, so that's great. So Luke, are there any other questions? I don't know if I scrolled past some.
A couple more.
Yeah.
There's one about, interesting one here about, Ursula asked about different levels of wholesale pricing different for different people. Sorry, I've been answering questions. Did you answer that?
I've not answered different levels, no.
But in terms of the wholesale pricing, yeah, yes. This task here.
Yes, I did, yeah. Good stuff. So yeah, maybe add your vote to the search with some comments if you... right, any others?
Yeah, there was another one actually, quite an interesting one. Can we have more than one secure zone where different content would be shown to each zone, from Barbara?
Yes, you can. Yes, so yeah, basically, if I don't have an example set up, sorry, but I will, I don't know, you've probably explained a bit in chat, but if I had more than one secure zone. So if I had 2 secure zones, no, let's do it the other way around. Should we do sheets or something like? No, I can't load sheets.
I think the answer is just yes.
Yes.
you can create as many secure zones as you want and add users and content to them, including now web items, which Martin mentioned at the beginning.
And so and then of course the user, if the user's only got access to 2 zones, they won't get the third, and vice versa. So you can make that dynamic. Absolutely.
There were a couple more clarifications on the agency starter pack, 10 pack. There's a couple of names for it. So for anybody that's already got sites, 10 pack's probably more relevant name. But essentially, we've created it to help agencies get started. It's a affordable way of getting going, and having that sort of commitment to get started means we'll also provide that sort of extra onboarding with those calls as well. So it's a really sort of good package there. But one of the clarifications was whether it's ongoing, it's sort of all 5 years at once. Just to clarify how it works, it is essentially paying for an annual plan for 10 sites all at once. You pay for the first year of 10 sites all at once, they go live, but then we honor that 50% discount for an additional 4 years, as well as for any upgrades to the site. So if it goes from the starter plan to the light plan, you benefit from a 50% discount on the difference as well for that full 5-year period, as long as there's no sort of billing interruptions. So you get the full benefit of 50% off for that whole time.
Yeah, and then the underlying discount for the site plans continues after.
That was a good point. There was another question, is whether it's on the normal pricing or on the BC discount. So the BC discount of 60%, it is on top of that. So it's a further 50% on that until the 26th of September. And then it reverts back to the sort of standard agency pricing. You can see all of that in the pricing page here.
For new sites, not for the existing.
Yeah, all existing sites.
And also, if that plan then upgrades, so if it moves to the next level, then it's still 50% off, isn't it?
Yeah. So as Martin said, if you go live on the 26th with the site, or if you do a 10 pack on the 26th, it's at the 60% off and then 50% on top. Any upgrades are at 50% on that original 60% pricing, because once you go live, the site stays on that level of discount permanently. So it's far better to do it on the 26th and the 27th because you get that ongoing saving for life for that site. Try to make it as simple as we can.
And then 301 reader. Sorry, Luke, did you have any others you wanted to talk about on that one?
I think that was everything in there, yeah.
So then Susan's asked about 301 redirects. I think perhaps from earlier in the presentation, although I may be wrong, so correct me if I am wrong. So it will be the 404s, or
I thought maybe it was import in terms of being able to import them, but I'm not sure. Stephen,
maybe a little bit. Even if you don't mind clarifying, we'd be happy to.
But there is an import for URL redirects or 301
yes,
redirects.
Okay. Well, I can show that just briefly.
Just we call them URL redirects.
So you can put an import in here and it gives you the 2 columns. So if I don't do the import though, let's just add one. So you can see we add the source URL and where you want it to go to and put it in here. Yeah. So you can create them manually, of course, moving forwards as well. Excellent. Any other questions? Oh, I've got a sneak preview to show if nobody has any other questions, because somehow I managed to skate entirely over that.
Forgetting it.
Let's crack on then. So Siteglide Studio. So I mentioned earlier layout library and design system. So I showed Figma, which I'm not going to load again in case Chrome decides to, my internet decides to crash. So, sneak preview there. Right, bear with me, sorry, while I find, I'll just load layout library. There we go. So I showed layout library earlier. So this is the current version using the Bootstrap full layouts, etc. But the team have been working away on a brand new product called Studio. So it's kind of like V2 of this, if you like. So you can head over and take a look. It's in beta. So you can read, obviously, all the marketing site here. We can also go through to layout library. So this is the new, I shouldn't have done that. There we go. Open it in a new tab. So this is the new and revised version. So there's a lot more to come on this. But it follows the same principles, so you'll be able to copy the code. It's got a new copy code flow rather than using, this is a little bit clunky, particularly for some of the module ones. And it's using an improved sort of Bootstrap approach as well, so it's more focused on the core Bootstrap, etc. We'll do a full release of this next month, so I won't dive into too much here.
Just to point out there that those layouts are temporary ones. Martin's about to show the full release. Carry on.
No, that's all right. It's good. So yeah, so they are temporary ones. We're going to add new ones, and the team are busy working on those right now. So they're going to release them sort of in blocks, and there's quite a lot to come. So yeah, as Luke was saying, this is a couple of examples of what these will start to look like. So you can see it's kind of a revised design. So that's a good module item ones, and we've got a different version here with some populated. I think these are high fidelity ones, aren't there? So there are 2 different versions going to be available.
Yeah, that's something from feedback, being able to start from just wireframes and then do the global styling on top, or actually start from sort of more high fidelity finished layouts, helps clients visualize a site better and helps you get started. We'll also be doing, Martin, if you just go back to the layout the layouts page, there'll also be templates you probably noticed on the left. So that would be bringing blocks or layouts together into a page. I think you've got a screenshot of that for me.
Oh, is that what that one was? No, I don't have it ready. Bear with me.
So yeah, we have a agency site that we're mapping out so that people can easily put together their own sites, either as your own agency one or use it as a starting point for other sites. But rather than having to piece all the different things together, you can start off with some of our templates essentially, and then fully customize them in the bit that Martin is about to show.
Yeah. So in addition, we have the drag and drop page builder. So this is obviously a beta for now, so there's more to come. But this will give you a little bit of an idea and a sneak preview. So I'll give links after the webinar and you guys can go and explore and have a play. So of course, as you can probably tell, they're going to be based on the layouts from that layout library. And let's do some drag and drop first out, shall we? So I've only got features. There we go. Info cards. Let's add one of these in. And I can drag and drop that into there. And I should be able to also move it around. So, whoops, wrong one. So I can reorder them on my page, and I can effectively therefore build out an entire page or multiple pages using the design system Bootstrap for layouts. And if I wanted to, I could even customize the content in here and insert images, etc. So you've got everything you'd expect to have. You can control all the fonts, headings. You can do hyperlinks, which is, let's try and remember where it is. This one, there we go. So you can do hyperlinks, formatting. So you have different strike throughs, etc. So everything you would expect. And you also have undo and redo, which will change any which will undo any change that was obviously last anywhere on the page. So that's quite useful. So yeah, some exciting stuff to come there. So sorry, go on, Luke.
I was just going to clarify, this is a public demo that you'll be able to play around with on the studio website. So things like imagery aren't hooked up to your site itself. This is a way to build out sites using the page builder, and there's a export button at the bottom to be able to export your HTML. But in the background, we're building this into the Siteglide application so that you'll be able to work with existing sites and all of your file manager assets.
Yeah, great for
taking on from there. Sorry, I was just going to say, taking on from there, obviously looking at how that interacts with dynamic content as well, and been getting some great feedback from people on that one. But yeah, sorry, I was just saying in the chat about great for wireframing. Really good to be able to sort of piece together the different layouts that you'd want and edit all of your content and then export it into Siteglide.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all right. Yeah, looks great as well. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll give links afterwards, and you can have a play. We've got more to come. We'll do a full release. We'll do next month's webinar. Will be on this, and I'll go through all of the details as to why this is so much better than the previous one beyond the drag and drop. So that is to come. Looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions? And no, I can't show you any more of the layout library. Lots of praise for the dev team on that one. Yeah, they've been working hard. So there'll be, I think updates will be pretty quick in succession, won't they, Luke, now from then on those. So we'll get more and more layouts added into the new layout library, for example, which will be mirrored in the builder.
They're being worked on in the background. Just a quick point. I have seen an email from Bruce, I think it was, sort of saying that maybe in one of the emails the time for PDT was incorrect. So there might be some people joining now an hour late. Obviously we've got the recording, so we'll make sure we send that out. So apologies if anybody does join now, but we'll obviously have the recording.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure we get that nice and quickly then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, we're coming up to the top of our, so does anyone have any other questions before we head off? And yeah, apologies, I think, Julia, I think the time is wrong on the email there. No, stand silence. Excellent. I'm looking forward to this one. I can't wait to start building stuff drag and drop. Because we build things for obviously landing pages and things. So yeah, it's going to be nice for our marketing team.
One little sneak peek for anybody that did use Design System within Siteglide and gets more into the technical side of it, you'll be able to use, there's a Sass compiler built in, so you'll be able to actually edit all of your variables in the code editor area and fully customize the look and feel of it just using the global styles. So that's quite a big improvement that Martin, I know, would have been saving for the next one, but I thought I'd let people know. Yeah, we'll have a big update on this in the next webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. Excellent. Well, if nobody has any other questions, we will wrap up. And yes, we'll send the recording through, of course, as soon as possible to you guys. Thank you all for... Yeah, apologies. We'll get the recording out to you as soon as I can. Thank you all for joining us this time. Julia, did you have any questions? Did you come pre-prepared with any questions that you wanted to ask? Not right now. Okay. Putting you on the spot. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. So lots of updates this time. So yeah, join us next month. We'll put dates out on the new events website, on the events page on the website, sorry. So we haven't scheduled it in yet, but of course, just like you could for this month, you'll be able to come in and register, which is now, obviously it's passed, for next month's webinar too. Lovely, thanks everyone. Take care, stay safe, and yeah, we'll catch up with you all in due course. And I will stop the recording when I can find the